So we covered the basics of formulas, the two things that we can do with them, right? Which were evaluating for one variable given the other, and then solving for one variable in terms of the others. So since the evaluating is basically just order of operations, following order of operations problems, there's really not much work there. Um, the more useful thing to do, which is a little bit more involved, is solving for one variable in terms of the others. So we'll do that with a couple of these formulas here. And some of these formulas you probably will recognize from previous classes, like the first one here, C equals pi d. That's the circumference of the circle formula, right? Circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. So you can see that this formula is solved for C in terms of d. So the problem is telling us solve it for d now. All right, well, that's straightforward enough, right? So if I have pi times d and I want to solve for d, right, again, what might be helpful is box or shade or something the variable that you're trying to solve for. So in this case, I'm trying to solve for the d, so what's happening to the d now? It's being multiplied by pi. So the only way I can get rid of that pi that's multiplying the d is to divide by pi. And if I do it on the right side, of course, I got to do it on the left side. And on the right side, it cancels, which is what I wanted. And I just have d. So I have d equals c divided by pi. And there's nothing else that can be done there. It's just d equals c divided by pi. And now it's solved for d in terms of c. So that was, as straightforward and simple as it gets. All right, so another one here, a equals a half times bh. That was the area formula for the triangle, right? So this one you actually have an option, and this is why you got to be careful and read the problem. They're telling me to solve for h, right? So h is the one that I want to get by itself, right? They could have easily just said solve for b, but in this case they said solve for h. So I'm going to have to get rid of that half and get rid of that b, right? So how would I get rid of the half? Well, a half is being multiplied, so if I want to get rid of that, yeah, I could say I'm dividing by a half, but remember, dividing by a half is really the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So what I really want to do here is multiply by 2 on both sides. So I'll multiply the left side by 2, and I'll multiply the right side by 2. And on the right side, of course, the 2's are going to cancel, and I'm just going to be left with BH. And then on the left side, 2 times A, well, that's just 2 times A. 2A equals BH. So now how would I solve for H completely? Right, again, this is not a bad idea. That's what I want to solve for. So I want to get rid of the B. So I'm treating B just like it's a number. So if I have B times H and I want to get rid of the B, I would of course have to divide by B, right? It's always doing the opposite. So on the right side, of course, again, it cancels, which is what you want, and you're just left with H. And on the left side, 2A divided by B, well, it's just 2A divided by B. So there it is. H equals 2A divided by B. So it's pretty straightforward, as long as you can just get around the fact that you have to treat the other variables like they are numbers. Okay? So another one here, P equals 2L plus 2W, solve for L. So this is the perimeter of a rectangular formula, right? So I'm trying to solve for L. So in this case, I got to get rid of that 2 that's next to the L, and I got to get rid of the 2W. Well, the 2W is easier to get rid of because it's not attached to our variable that I'm trying to solve for, so I can just get rid of this 2W by subtracting it. So now it's going on the right side, and on the left side I would just have P minus 2W equals 2L. And then again, I'm solving for L, so I got to get rid of that 2, which right now is multiplying the L. So to get rid of it, I would just divide by 2. So now my 2's cancel, and that's it. Again, I'm done. What's P minus 2W over 2? Well, it's just P minus 2W over 2. Finished.